Good morning. On today's episode of What's Fortune Getting Into Now, doing some recon in the Black Mountain, North Carolina area. This is private land of, it's called Christmount. It's basically the campground for the, I think it's Disciples of Christ denomination, where they come out to camp. And there's about 10 different hiking trails up here that go up the ridges. You can see some mountains here in the background. About 10 different trails. Pretty torn up after the Hurricane Helene. Is about 2 months later. And it's about 27 degrees out here, so quite chilly. But the wind is calm. It was quite windy yesterday. I was actually going to come out yesterday into this area. And but the wind was like 30, 40, 50 mile per hour gusts. So with the damage that's already done, that was taking a lot on. Decided to wait and to come out at a different time. Today's perfect, except it's chilly. I don't think it's supposed to be above 30 degrees, and that's about where I am right now, about 2,500 feet. So I'll be up to close to 4,000, I believe, today, if I can get up there, because this is a recon mission, so to speak. Going to get on every one of these trails and see where they deteriorate, if they're hikeable, get the information back to the director here of Christmount and see what the next plan of action is to see if we can get these trails opened up for the public to come out. These trails are open to the public. It's on private land, but it's open to the public. I believe you just have to register in the office so they know you're out here. That's it. So in the whole recon of all of Western North Carolina as much as I can. Obviously, I can't do all the trails, but trying to find out what's open for people to come out and be able to hike. This is some steep trails from the way I understand it, so it's exactly what I love, climbing the ridge lines, climbing a mountain. So looking forward to checking this out and seeing exactly what needs to be done and seeing how open they are and how far into each trail. So let's get going. This particular trail is a quite short and simple one. Runs along this trench down here. And right next to the office and guest house. Just kind of does a short loop starting at Holly Drive or Road and then circling back to Holly Drive and Road. This one doesn't really have an elevation, I don't think. It's kind of an easy little short trail. And, all right, see what's next. So even though this one's kind of one of the easier ones, as you can see, still has some damage here on the trail where it's landslide or cave in. Still manageable though. All right, here's some signs showing all they have. Got some ruins, Guastavino, I think, ruins. Century Trail, I'm not sure what that is. Aldridge Hall, swimming hole, University Christian Church, 1,000 miles in Fort Worth, Texas. I'm not sure what that's all about. I guess those are some of the bigger churches that's part of this denomination. But anyway, there's a little RV park there. Right here was that first one, Mary Lane. Going to come up here, and this is Fern Way, I mean. And this is going to take me to the next trail, which is one of the steeper ones out here. So very curious to see what this is. Climbs up some, I don't know if it gets to the summit or just the ridge of the mountain. But there's some really nice vistas up here. I've heard and I've read, so little paper maps they give out if you want them at the very front, right here where the offices are. So you can go check this out and see what this has to offer. All right, the Rocky Knob Trail. So should be some pretty steep climb. Some nice vistas up here to look out over the Black Mountain Range. Some homes here. I don't know if they're part of the campground, like cabins or whatnot, but private, whatever it is. You can see, looks like it might be blazed pretty good. Got the orange markers for this one. Each trail has a different color, so that's pretty cool. You can see some trees down here. All right, let's check it out. In a couple areas like this so far. Nothing you can't get around though. See right here, looks like there's an intersection, looks like some kind of trail going down there, but they have it marked pretty good. So you know to come this way, that's a good thing. A lot of their blazes are on some of the smaller trees, so you just got to pay attention. So far, not too bad. Trail comes down there, and there's a little gap or a valley down there. Where it looks like there might have been mudslides at one point. I don't know if it's from the storm or not. You kind of lose the trail for a second, but what it does is zigzag on this tree right here. There is an orange blaze, but it's hard to see. So if you come to that big down tree right there, which isn't too far in, maybe 1/10 of a mile, 2/10 of a mile, then just zigzags up here. And there's some little steps underneath the leaves here. But as you can see, start getting into some blowdowns. At this point, not too bad yet though, easily managed. Definitely a little bit steep, nothing bad, but with those leaves that makes it a little slick. You know, just like on a trail in this area this time of year, you have leaves down everywhere. But there's definitely some blowdowns, and the trail is hard to follow at this point for sure. Haven't ran into too much major erosion or anything yet. So you don't have to climb over this tree. Kind of goes up there. All right, go put the phone down for this one. Kind of, as you can see, it's a little bit of erosion caving in there. So don't want to slide down this hill as I'm recording. The video obviously doesn't do it justice. It's actually a pretty steep climb. The leaves do not help that, and it's definitely not going to help it on the way down. So far, not too bad with the damage on the trail, but definitely steep, right around 1,100 feet a mile average right now. That's probably going to get a little bit more based on what it looks like here straight up now to the top. And it's going straight up. I mean, there's little zigzags, but not switchbacks. So it's just kind of going like this around the trees all the way up. You can definitely feel it in the calves. And if I'm feeling it in the calves, you know it's steep. Just because my body's used to this. Ugh. It's beautiful out here. Warming up with that sun hitting and climbing straight up. But absolutely beautiful. I can't wait to see these vistas up here. Well, there's a house there. Wonder if that's part of the campground or not. Still climbing. I'm actually quite impressed. It's quite steep. It is not easy to, oh, there went my glasses. You know I have to go back for those. But yeah, it's quite steep. Right here, it's covered in with the rhododendron, getting close to the top. And the footholds are there. They're just hard to find through all the leaves. And the trail has some erosion on it. Going down will be a little more challenging because it's hard to get footholds through all the leaves. But these are pretty big steps, believe it or not. I'm actually quite impressed that a private campground area like this has this good of a trail. I don't know if you can tell how steep that is, but pretty steep. I'm loving it. Here's a nice view overlooking the Black Mountains and Swannanoa Mountains. This is what the trail is doing right now, up and around this rock. And it looks like I'm getting really close to the summit up there. I'm loving this trail. Nice little workout. That's Black Mountain, the town down there. Nice little outcropping here. It's the town of Black Mountain. And these are the Black Mountains, the range. Home of the tallest mountain, and maybe the second and third tallest mountain east of the Mississippi. Mount Mitchell, and several other 6,000 footers. Absolutely beautiful. Standing on the summit of Rocky Knob Mountain. You can see the surrounding mountains through the trees, and you already seen the views down into Black Mountain, the town. It's a summit of about 3,200 feet. Nice steep climb on a cool day. And Rocky Knob Mountain is in the bag. Descending right now. Rocky Knob, I believe it's called Rocky Knob. A couple of these are down. They don't look fresh, so they probably already were down. Not on the trail. The trail does get hard to follow, I'm not gonna lie. Like up here, it looks like is where the trail goes, but there's a blaze on that tree right down there in the shade. Not very visible. There is some erosion on the trail, but nothing bad. There was times when I slid on my butt for a good portion of time. I don't know, like a 20th of a mile or something. Not very far, maybe 100, 200 feet, in other words. But I did it intentionally because the leaves were so thick and you couldn't find a foothold and it's so steep. I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna get down here and kind of shove the leaves out of the way for whoever comes after me so they could see the trail, because it does get hard to find at times. Again, closer to the bottom of this trail. Nothing too bad as far as blowdowns or anything as of yet, unless there's more down below. But it's definitely doable, definitely steep, and you want to take your time out here because these leaves are quite slick and there's not a whole lot of footholds underneath like rocks or branches. So your foot kind of just sinks in and then slides out. Good thing there's no major drop-offs. There's some drop-offs that would make you roll for a little bit, but there's obviously trees and everything. At the end of the day, that's not what you want to do. You just want to be careful out here. And this is supposed to be the hardest trail of all of them, and it's not bad at all. And it's a summit. You gotta love the summits. So I'm gonna continue going down here and seeing what else I could tackle while I'm out here today. I'm not gonna have time to do all 10 of them. One of them I know is closed for repair right now, and I've done 2, might do another 1 or 2 and then call it a day and come back and do the other ones at a later time. But pretty nice trail, pretty nice day today. So right here at this tree, it wrapped around. You couldn't really see the trail. Didn't know if it went over this blowdown or not, but then coming over here, You could see this orange actually shows up quite better on the camera, I could see. But yeah, it's hard to see. So if you're colorblind at all, you might not be able to see these because it's a darker color on a darker color and they're quite faded. And I don't know if you could really see what this is, but just leaves, and this isn't even a steep part to be honest, but it's a little eroded trail to where it slants a little bit. Nothing bad, just got to take your time. The blazes coming down on this end of it are definitely harder to see than going up. They don't have it quite marked. There were times before where 3 trees in a row marked. You could see that one right there is marked a little bit. And this is, I think, one of the only darker colors out here of the trail. So the other ones are probably easier to see. But right there, that arrow on that tree, a lot of those coming up. You could see, even if you didn't see the blaze, like, oh, the trail turns here. Not so much coming down, but that's okay. It's still pretty well marked, and I'm doing my best to move some leaves out of the way to make it a little more visible for people. But the point of the mission today was to recon, though. Obviously, the point of the mission is always to summit, always summit mountain, but also to recon so people would know what the trail looks like if they want to come out here and visit this one. So, as you can see, it turns here, kind of goes around, and it wraps around in this direction. Even though it's hard to see, I could see enough of it to know that that's where the trail is. Alrighty, continuing on, getting down this descent, getting down Rocky Knob here. And just so you know, none of these are on. There might be one that's on all trails, but not all of the trails are on here. And I don't think Rocky Knob is one of them that's on there. So they have the paper maps up front. Besides that, I am actually recording right now on all trails. So I'm going to try to submit it and see if that can get on there. That's nice and steep, and there's just really not much to grab onto. Hell, right there. But anyway, I'm trying to get it up there, so maybe by the time you get out here, that will be on all trails. I don't know if you can see how steep that is, but anyway, I'm going to quit rambling and see you at the bottom. The trail crosses a little road, and there's a little bit of damage here. There was a little bit of a slide over on this side of this creek. Really pretty here, though. Look at that. Nice. Very beautiful. The trail kind of goes along this, and then it's supposed to go something close or cross. Well, I can't talk. Run into something called Watershed Road, and then from there it goes back to Fern Drive, which goes back to the office or headquarters there of the campground. But this is the trail, I guess. Yep, right there's a little bit of orange. So it just runs along the river, or this creek. It doesn't actually cross it yet. And a little bit of erosion, like right there was some, but nothing too bad. Definitely some blowdowns around here, some damage, but you can definitely see some damage, but definitely movable and walkable through here. All right, can continue on. This is the end of the trail. You can see there was some damage here where this creek used to come up all the way in here until the road went out right here. Still walkable to get out of that trail though, and then you would get here on Fern Way to get back to the office. Definitely some damage though, and they have this blocked off too. Walking back to the office for Christmount campground. Walking on Fern Way right now, which is where this particular trail started, but this is at the what would be the north end, I guess, of the trail. And when I came out, there was one of the homeowners out there where it was very eroded and landslid, mudslide in. As you could see, they still have power lines down here. There was one neighbor right there that he said was without power for 21 days. Had 4 trees fall, one of them right on the power line. One transformer was up for like 2 days and all of a sudden crashed down. And I guess the problem in this area was that there was 5 inches of water that fell right before Hurricane Helene came through. They were already on the verge of a big flood, and then Hurricane Helene came in. So that was one of the big problems of why this area got hit so hard in Swannanoa and Black Mountain all the way up to Biltmore. So he had a lot of stories. I'm not going to share them all with you, but some of them, just the ridiculousness of how hurricanes happen and the warnings that they give and everything else. From living in Florida for 25 years, I know quite a bit about that. Like, for example, they had a mandatory evacuation of like the Swannanoa River area, anyone who lived across that. And a lot of people lost their power about 6:30 in the morning. And about an hour later is when this evacuation came out. Number one, most people are still sleeping. Number two, the power went out. So most people didn't even know about the evacuation. And by that point, the roads are all closed and you can't even get out. Like this area here was completely shut off because they had bridges out. Roads caved in. The water was actually running underneath the pavement. He was telling me about how they fixed some of the roads out here themselves so they could get in and out of this community. Again, debris underneath where the water was literally running right underneath the road where it caved in. It was rough. We talked for probably an hour just about all the stuff going on out here, but a lot of this community and neighbors have been actually out on these trails cutting trees down and such. That's why that was actually in a little better shape than I thought it would be, and that is the tougher one. Got a lot of good info too about some mountains to summit in this area that there's not necessarily trails, quote unquote trails to, which is right up Fortune's Alley for sure. So I cannot wait to get on some of those. And I'm right here at the Eastern Continental Divide too. I really wasn't sure, didn't know about that I was that close. So that's pretty awesome. Anyway, I'm rambling. This is my last trail for the day after talking to him in for an hour. We're just going to get on out of here and come back and do some of these other trails and do some recon. But as you can see, the trails are pretty good shape. There's some caved in roads and trails and bridges, but on the trail itself, not too bad. So I would definitely come out here and check it out. Christmount is what the campground's called, right out of Black Mountain. Come check it out. But also I am going to do some more recon out here and show y'all that. But for now, I'll see you tomorrow or see you on the next clip. One of the two.